Hello everyone, I'm Marty and welcome to my June 2024 market update. We've got all the stats fresh from the board and I'm going to share those with you now to bring you right up to date with where our real estate market is. So let's pop right into my first table, which I use to determine how active the market is for various products. We've got detached, attached townhomes and half duplexes and apartment condos. So for the data from the last month, we see the sales activity for detached houses year over year is actually down by almost 19%. So that activity on houses has dropped down over that year-to-year period. The benchmark price from last year is up 5.9%. And from last month, we're still getting an increase in pricing up by 1.3%. So significant monthly appreciation. Now, if we jump to the attached product, townhomes and half duplexes, our activity year over year is down 14%, but the benchmark price is up 5.2% from last year, and prices are up almost 1% from last month on the attached product. Condos activity is quite a bit down from last year at 22.7%. Year over year pricing, we're up 2.2%, and last month we had a marginal increase in pricing of 0.3%. So remember, this time last year is when that inflationary rate was just starting to take off. The mortgage rates were still low. There was pretty good activity. We're in quite a different market today compared to that last year moment, but we are still getting an appreciation on all the product of about 1% per month, month over month. So that's good news. What's hot and what's not? Let's look at each product category. Of course, I look at the sales ratio, which is basically the absorption rate of product month over month. How many homes are being sold on a monthly basis in the different products, different areas. If over 21% is sold in a given month, we are definitely in a seller's market and there's upward pressure on prices. If between 12 and 20% is selling, we're in that balanced market category and it's not favoring the buyers or the sellers. But if we're below 11%, we are in buyer market territory and there's downward pressure on pricing and multiple offers just don't happen. So if you're selling, that's where you want to be. If you're buying, that's where you want to be. And most of the products still hovering around here, but we'll jump into each one to show you where we're at. Detached houses, west side of Vancouver. You can see what's happened over the last year. In May, we were at 16%, and surprise, surprise, we are still at 16% for houses on the west side in middle of the road, balanced market territory. I'm seeing it, we're seeing it in the market. It's chugging along, but it's not superheated, and it certainly isn't a bad market either. I'm still getting multiple offers on all of the houses that we're selling on the west side. Condos, townhomes, Vancouver west side. Last month in May, we were at 22% in, of course, seller's market territory. This month, we have a slight increase in activity to 23%. So we're up a little bit in activity for condos and townhomes west side, and of course, in good seller's market territory. Now, if we go to the next product, we will see that we are in condos, townhomes downtown. And if we look at last month, we were at 15%, right in a balanced market. And this month, we are also still at 15%, so right in that balanced market territory. If we go to detached houses east side, interestingly enough, pretty heated last month at 24%, and this month it's cooled down a little bit, down to 19%. For detached houses, dropping from a seller's market down to a balanced market. And actually on the product that we're selling here at Pospisil Realty Group, we've noticed the further out you get from Vancouver, the quieter that market has gotten in the suburbs. We're still fairly heated here in Vancouver, but it has quietened down out in the burbs, and that's also reflected in East Vancouver as well. So if we go condos, townhomes east side, last month we were an incredible 28% strong seller's market. This month we're still at 28%. So condos and townhomes on the east side of Vancouver. Still very, very hot in strong sellers market territory. So overall, if we're looking at the west side, you can see the activity was increasing. You're going to see that drop with next month's stats. And on the east side, we were in that sellers market territory, and that's starting to cool when we see those next month's stats come out in the graph. So if we're looking at all of BC, you can see we've breached into sellers market territory. But again, over the summer, as people start going away, kids out of school, that's going to calm down a little bit for July and August as well. So that's just coming. What's happening out in the burbs? Now, this is where you'll see it. If we're looking at detached homes month over month, green being increased sales ratio or sales activity, red being decreased, you can see it's a mixed bag. Half are red, half are green. And of course, the further we're getting out, we're seeing a lot more red in the burbs for detached houses, and it's the same story for attached product all throughout the Lower Mainland. We're seeing it cool down as we're getting into those summer months. Fairly typical, fairly cyclical pattern that we see. What's happening with the prices? There's the average across BC. You can see we hit that peak in 2022. We're getting very close to that across BC. And if we continue along here, for the average price graph, you can see for detached houses, you can see we've had that little bit of a sawtooth happen over the last year and a half. Same with attached and same with condos, leveling off now a little bit and still marginal price appreciation month to month. And there's that 5-year trend you can see back in 2022 where we hit that peak, and then of course COVID, and then that recovery from COVID, and then of course we had that hyperinflation, and now the recovery from that in all products. So that's interesting to see. So the forecast for the summer, the rest of the summer, we'll look at the drivers. We've got market enhancers, market deterrents, and transition. Strong green to orange, and the reason for that is the buyers have backed off a little bit. We're seeing that compared to earlier in spring. Many are beginning to feel the impact of those higher rates, the cost of renovations, the cost to borrow money on that new mortgage, because that hasn't changed yet. It's about to. But that consumer confidence or that demand has cooled down. So we've gone from a green to an orange. Inflation, fantastic. We're actually down to 2.69%. We're almost in the middle of that preferred target range that the Bank of Canada likes to see. So inflation is behaving, and of course we're seeing that because the consumers are not as active. So the cost of borrowing, we're still, I think the best 5-year rate you can get now is about 4.9%, 4.94, so just shy of 5% for the 5-year rate. But now that inflation is down, and of course the big news, Bank of Canada dropped 25 basis points, so that's great. And if that continues on a gradual basis, you're going to see these cost of borrowing mortgage rates start to follow suit in a gradual manner. Inventory levels, they're gradually increasing, but not by any speed. The listings are trickling in. So there's not a great selection out there. It is there. There's some really good value for people to make those changes in, but it's not as strong as we'd like to see it. So consumer confidence, there we go. Last month you saw the consumer out there with all those bags. Now they're actually thinking about, should we be buying now? Maybe we should wait. Let's wait for those mortgage rates. So there's a lot of thought process going in. And the properties that we're selling, the buyers are a little bit more apprehensive than they were even a few months ago, actually waiting for those rates to drop so they can afford the renos and afford the new mortgage. So that's where the mindset is for the consumer right now. Retail sales are tapering. So we saw great activity earlier in the year. That's starting to taper off a little bit. Employment is good. Unemployment has not changed since last month. For BC, we're still at 5%, and for Canada, we're at 6.1%. So pretty consistent unemployment. Housing starts, looking fairly good. And of course, the big news, as I mentioned earlier, is inflation. We are down to 2.69%. You can see the smile on Mr. Macklem's face. And of course, the first time rates have come down in 2 years since when they began to increase them in March of 2022. This is the first decrease. However, the Bank of Canada does say that this is going to be gradual and that we should not expect the rates to fall down to where they were to the lows of this decade. Remember, we were hitting 2%. Some people got mortgages under 2%. He's saying don't expect that to come back anytime soon. So, of course, the CPI just shows the ride we had 2020, COVID, and then amazing inflation, of course, through last year, and then it started to come down and taper off. And the interesting part about Consumer Price Index is it's heavily weighted with the cost of real estate, both rental and ownership. So that's the headline CPI, dramatically impacted, almost 25%. So we're down at 2.69% now. The U.S. With Jerome Powell, the Fed, at 3.36. Starting to get a little bit of a spread between the two. We want to keep those relatively close because there's repercussions on our inflation. If we're not, that will hopefully fall as we progress closer to the election as well. So we'll watch that closely. And we've got the cost of borrowing. Again, the consensus is the banks will follow as the Bank of Canada starts to lower the overnight rate. It's not going to be dramatic. We are going to see some drops over the year, but don't expect dramatic drops anytime soon. Inventory, which we're watching. Here we are on the west side for houses. You can see we went from 567 houses the previous month to 607, about a 40 home increase in inventory. Not a lot. If we look at attached condos and townhomes, we came up about 60 units, very gradual increase in inventory. On the east side for houses, we went up about 40 homes again on the east side, not a dramatic increase at all. And of course, we went up about 30 homes for east side attached products. So not anything dramatic, pretty gradual. I think you're going to start to see that taper off over the rest of June, July, and August as well. So home sales have been pretty good for this year, and we're looking at, of course, surpassing last year, and next year is projected to be quite active in the number of sales across BC, so a lot of home selling. And in conclusion, again, what we're watching is the mortgage rates, the inventory, and the consumer confidence are the main factors. Inflation's at its target rate. We're hopefully going to continue to see gradual drops by the Bank of Canada as long as our economy and inflation behaves. And listing inventory is starting to grow slowly. I would say that you're going to see some decent continuation of the Bank of Canada drops. That's my guess at it right now, maybe up to 100 basis points by 1% by the end of the year. That would be nice to see. So it's going to be gradual. So overall, 2024 will continue to be modest activity over the summer. And then, of course, we're going to get that cyclical blip up in activity September and October. So there's the next really good window to sell in. We're still seeing great activity here in Vancouver for the rest of June. But July and August, that's going to be a quiet time, typically is over the summer period. So going on to some fun stuff. Now, let's look at what's happening in Dubai. So this is an airport, a new international airport they're building in Dubai. It's going to be the largest capacity airport in the world. Look at that. It looks like something out of Avatar. Unbelievable. It's going to cost $35 billion to build, a lot of money. It's going to have 400 gates and 5 terminals, and it's going to have a capacity of 260 million passengers per year. That's 10 times what we got at YVR last year. Pretty cool. Love to go there one day and check that out. That's my fun page, and that's my update for June 2024. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Marty Pospisil. Keep those emails coming. Happy to answer all your questions. Happy to give you any advice I can in real estate. Enjoy the rest of June and enjoy your summer, but I'll see you back here in July. Thank you.